Well, it's 10. And I've had 3 bites. And I have not caught a fish. And I'm pretty frustrated. Because I thought it would be a lot better today. And it may still get better today. But I can tell you right now, I miss Rayburn. Because I talked to a buddy down there this week who just went out and threw a swim jig around and caught like 30 fish. He said, oh, there was nothing over 4 pounds, so there were no good ones. Well, good gosh, man. I just need a freaking... I'm very, very frustrated. Very, very, very frustrated right now. But you can see, man, I'm across the front deck, jig, popper, buzz bait, spinner bait, swim jig, worm, crankbait. I can't get them to bite anything. Water's warmed up. Water's 55, 56 degrees. Even on the main lake, it's warmer, I'm told, up the lake. I'm really, 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 really frustrated. All right, that was pretty awesome. So that's a little, so this is a little 6-inch jig. They call it a finesse jig, but it ain't a finesse jig. It's got a regular big boy hook. Now that's obviously not much, but what's cool about that fish is I flipped it next to that pole and I saw that fish swim off that pole and look at that bait. And when I hopped it, all of a sudden the bait and the fish became one and he swam off with it. So that was pretty neat. But interestingly, I did not see that fish before I flipped over there. I don't know if he was behind the pole or what, but as soon as that jig started falling, I saw him come out there and take a look at it. So that was fun. Anyway, hey, caught a fish and it's not even noon. Hooray. So that's 20-pound cigar on that little 6-inch jig. Again, they call it a finesse jig. It's got a really good hook keeper up there on it. I mean, a bait keeper. And Zoom speed crawl. Be a tract. You Nacho the dog?
Yep, that's Nacho the dog.
Nacho the dog. Nacho, do you happen to like nachos?
The kids thought he looked like the color of nachos.
Oh. Nachos, no jalapenos, I guess.
Yep, exactly.
I'm going to give you all a little overlay here of what I do. So this fish is deep hooked in the throat, but it's not all the way through. So I know I can come in behind it and pop that hook out. So I grab my clamps. I call them hemostats, but they're not. I think they're called clamps. And what I do is I go in behind the gill plate and I'm able to just pop that hook right out. And then once it's loose, I go back in through the mouth and you see I just retrieved the hook, no bleeding, the fish was great.
Boy, those come in handy. Finally got a decent bite. Finally got a decent bite. All right, so that's my Cedar Creek practice. gosh, I got out Saturday, and then I got to spend about 3.5 hours out on Sunday afternoon, and I forgot my cameras, which is no big deal. Didn't miss a whole bunch. But Cedar Creek's fishing tough, and so this is practice. So I was not setting the hook on everything that I was doing, but I'll tell you, so I got to kind of think through how many bites I had. So I caught those 2 fish that you saw. And then I caught another fish. I caught about a 3-pounder on a jig that I didn't get on camera for a variety of reasons. And then about 2 docks later, I got bit, and that fish was on the front of a dock. About 2 docks later, I got bit. It's funny, I was around the side of a dock and I could see one of those bill dance things, you know, it's got the tubes coming up out of it, the fish attractors, and I flipped over on it, and I thought I felt a bite, and I picked up and it pulled down, and I actually tried to sit without catching it because I had a guy right next to me. There was a KCKL Big Bass tournament there this weekend, and it was crowded. Terry told me he didn't think there'd be more than 150 boats in that tournament, and I don't know how many there were, but there were boats everywhere. And a 10-pounder won that tournament. But I couldn't quite get that fish up where I could see it. What was weird to me, and I've experienced this a lot on Rayburn, I had 3 different fish just knock a chatterbait sideways. I mean, just knock slack in your line, and obviously either swatting it with their mouth closed or just running up and bumping it and not eating it or blowing on it, I don't know what. And my experience has been, when those females go from, and the males too actually, when they go from eating to spawning, there's a transition period in between that when they don't eat as good. And my sense, and I'm sure guys are catching the crap out of them down there, but my sense from what I saw was there's some of that going on. I also had a fish come up on a topwater lure and just sort of swirl on it and not get it. But it should, I believe we're gonna have a dark moon. Actually, I'm gonna check that. Hold on. I thought that was right. So we'll have a dark moon on Thursday, and then we got the 2 Bass Champ tournaments Saturday and Sunday. So the water temp I'm seeing is even on the main lake now, pretty much 54, 55, and then you can find water well into the 60s. I think we'll see a wave of fish coming up on this dark moon to spawn. I could be wrong, but I think we will. But, you know, Cedar Creek, it's real hard to see them. The one year, Bill Johnson and I, my partner who passed away several years ago, we had 27 pounds sight fishing on Cedar Creek. Gosh, Bill's been gone 10 years, so it's been more than 10 years ago. And it was a year when the water was all the way full to pool. And you know, a lot of those areas have kind of a gator grass around the edge of the bank, and most of those fish were either on that or on retaining walls. Well, the challenge right now is, number one, the lake's not as clear as it was back on that particular year. And also, none of that ground cover, none of that bank cover's in the water, because the lake, I'm gonna guess it's 1.5 feet low. It's between 1 foot and 2 feet low. So all of that bank grass is dry. So there's really nowhere for those fish to hide under. And then even some of the retaining walls where we caught those fish, you know, it's that deep at the base of the retaining wall. So you got to come way out off the bank, and it's going to be harder to catch those fish. I don't think this tournament, you might catch a fish or 2 sight fishing, but I don't think this tournament is any threat at all of being won sight fishing. But I think spawning fish will definitely come into play. There'll certainly be a huge group of fish move up on the full moon in 2 more weeks. But my sense is there's going to be a lot more fish shallow. I told Terry yesterday, I said, you know, for as much as we fished, and by the way, I don't know if I've got it on camera. I may have. If I do, I'll show you right here. I also had a big goo on for a minute on a crankbait. finally stuck a good one on my little, I picked up my munch crankbait, and I stuck me a good one. Oh, he come off. About a 4-pound Gasper goof, which I thought was a good fish because the way it was running, it wasn't spinning or doing anything. It just kept trying to get back under a dock, or run under a dock. But I told Terry, as much as I fished shallow yesterday to get as few bites as I got, they're either really not on a feed or there's not as many fish shallow as I thought there would be this time of year. Now certainly the big bass tournament pressure hurt a little bit, but it didn't hurt that much. So my guess is the fishing will be a whole bunch better for Bass Champs than what it was this past weekend. I think the team trail tournament the week before, I talked to a couple guys who had a pretty nice stringer in the team trail tournament, and they struggled this weekend, and they said the fishing's not nearly as good as it was then, but I think we'll see it return sort of more to the norm this next week with that new moon coming on Thursday night. So again, you know, I had a couple of bites on a jig, I had one swirl on top water, I had a nice goo on a crankbait, and I had you know what, I guess I had 2 bites flipping a worm. One of them y'all saw, and then one that I shook off. And seemed like I had another bite. I can't remember now what it was. But, you know, 6, 7, 8 bites for the day. Did not pull on all of them. I certainly would have tried to catch any of those chatterbait fish because I had a hook exposed, but they didn't eat it. So I think that may change a little bit. I think it'll get better. And Terry and I will certainly be there for both days for the Bass Champs next weekend. So hope you guys can come down and join us along with Jeff and Chad and all the Bass Champ guys and girls. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a long time since I've got to spend 2 consecutive days tournament fishing. I hadn't fished a Toyota Series in a couple of years. And that following week is the Toyota Series at Texas, and I'm real tempted to sneak into that tournament. I think I could get in as a boater, but boy, my work is so busy right now. I probably won't do that, but I might slide up there Monday or Tuesday and just see what it looks like. If it's a spawning tournament, I don't want to fish it. I don't want to compete against the guys who are going to just look for them on the bank. But if it's a pre-spawn tournament, I've caught them up there pretty good. I finished second in a BFL a few years ago up there exactly at the same time. Billy Klein caught a 9-pounder off the nest on his last cast to beat me out of first place in that tournament. I've caught them pretty good up there this time of year, so I'd love to go up there and fish that tournament. We'll see how the week shakes out and how my work shakes out this week, and how life here at the house shakes out, see whether I can sneak away for a few more days. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed that tiny bit of fishing there. And I'm gonna, you know what, I'm gonna do a rod review, but I'm actually gonna post it on Tuesday. So by the time y'all have seen this, I'm gonna review a couple of rods that I've had in the boat. By the way, look at this. This is unbelievable. This rod box in this Lynx is huge. So it's this center compartment, and it's deep and it's wide. And I made a comment to somebody the other day that I'm not carrying nearly as many rods as I used to. And I kind of based that comment based upon the number of rods and reels that are in the boat barn and in the house in Zavala and in the garage here. And I went to digging these rods out because I'm kind of going through my tackle for the Bass Champs tournament this weekend. I pulled 27 rods and reels out of the 26 rods and reels out of the box, 1 rod with no reel on it, and 2 or 3 loose reels. I am carrying entirely too many rods and reels, and I really thought I was carrying less. That's ridiculous that I'm carrying that many rods and reels, but you keep pulling them, putting them in and not taking them out, and next thing you know, you got this going on. So time to clean up the Lynx a little bit. And anyway, we'll hopefully see you guys on Cedar Creek this weekend. I think we'll do what we typically do. We'll fish out of Terry's Bass Cat on Saturday, and out of Terry's Phoenix on Saturday, and out of the Lynx on Sunday. So if you see us, please say hello. I think a leaf just blew my box. And we'll see you guys this weekend at Bass Champs. Thanks, guys.